Welcome to another one of my videos. I have to admit, I am being very technically challenged with all I'm trying to do. I got myself a stand. I have this cute little remote that's supposed to help me so I don't have to fidget with my camera using my cell phone to do this video. And it's been a learning curve, people. And all I can say is try not to get frustrated. Just take it easy when you're first getting going with this, and if things first don't work out, then sometimes you just walk away and then you come back. So all I'm going to say for that about that today, and let's move on. So this is one of my workstations, and because of the layout of my house and where I'm working, I've actually got 3 of them, and I do different things at my different workstations. So this workstation that we're at right now is basically my resin workstation, where I, well, obviously do my resin. What else would I use it for? When I was doing my pours, I was actually using the space for that, but I've got a different space for that now. Because I am sort of new to YouTube and all I'm doing, I thought today what I would do is go over a set of flower molds that I got from Let's Resin about 2 weeks ago. And I love how my flowers have turned out. So one of the things I do when I'm wanting to sort of see how a mold's going to come out, I actually play with resins that cure fast. So polyurethane is a resin that cures within 10 minutes, and I prefer to use it and play with it to see how pieces are going to come out, potentially how much resin I'm going to need, and just to get a feel for the molds themselves. And I think the biggest benefit to me is the fact that it cures so fast that I don't have to wait until the next day, because most of my resins are a 12 to 24-hour cure. And so the polyurethane is just a quick and easy way for me to, see what the results are with the pieces that I'm doing. And one other thing, so I'm going to give you a bit of a tip with polyurethane resin. You have to, one, not make a lot of it at one time. I've done that in the past, and I'm going to show you a piece I did. So this piece, although I love how it turned out at the end of the day, the problem was there was too much polyurethane. It hardened really quickly. So as I was actually pouring this piece, by the end of it, it was just setting too quickly, and that's how come the top of this looks the way it does. As I say, it kind of makes me think of a cupcake or a donut or something like that. So I must have done this about 2 years ago, and I thought, oh, I could throw this out, but it's just too cute. And it was a reminder of just how quickly that resin will set. So really, to me, it's not meant to be used for anything too big because of the chemical reaction and how quickly it will set. So I just want to point that out to you with polyurethane. The other thing I want to talk to you about is what you should or shouldn't put into polyurethane. I tried different products within my resins to see what works and what does not work. Now, this rose definitely did not turn out the way I wanted it to. I was playing with UV resin, I was playing with mica powders, and I used polyurethane in this one. The problem with this piece is what happened underneath. Now, it looks really cool. However, this should not happen. And I put in, I believe it was a alcohol ink of some sort. It was something new. It was a product I was trying out. Actually, no, it was Indian ink I was using in this one. And it basically flash cured, and then it created all these bubbles, and you have to be careful with what you put in it. So if you're not sure, I would definitely check out other videos of what people have used and or not using, or if they've had something like this happen, take heed that you're being told that for a reason, so that one, you're not wasting resin, and two, it doesn't freak you out, or at least you're aware of this could happen by what you put into it. So really the best piece of advice I can give anyone is follow the manufacturer's suggestions. And if I'm doing something that might not work, I have containers that I put my molds inside of before I pour the resin into it. So if by any chance there's a chemical reaction I'm not expecting, then resin is not going to end up all over my workspace. Instead, what it's going to do is it's going to end up within that container and self-contained. So again, I play. That's up to you whether or not you play. I'm just letting you know that some things that you put into your resin may have an adverse effect. So again, follow the instructions that are given to you by the manufacturer because they'll keep you safe. So I just wanted to show this to you and how that went sideways for me. Now these pieces, I did pretty good with them. I have been putting alcohol ink in my polyurethane. I like to see, again, it's got a bit of a chemical reaction, but it's not near as severe as the Indian ink was. And I like, as much as this is messy on the bottom, and sometimes the alcohol ink will stay sticky, it gives a cool effect if you can, pour some of your polyurethane in and then put a product in and then pour some more of the polyurethane. Because as you will find out, when you just use the polyurethane, it is white. And I mean, you can see how pure of a white that is. So I like to, if I'm not using mica powders, which it will pick up if you put them inside the mold, I like to add color because I like to see how it will turn out. And I know that flowers can have sort of different tones within them in nature. So I try to recreate that to some extent. This one, I actually used Let's Resin. Oh, my brain is not functioning. Oh, just lost that. Anyways, there's a Let's Resin product that's in this for the yellow and the blue. And it didn't work near as nicely as what the alcohol ink did. And that was the bottom of it as I was continuing to play. So it's really curious to know how some products are going to interact. And sometimes, for me, what's on the bottom looks actually more cool than what's on top. This one, my tulip, I use straight mica powders in this one, and I just swirled them around. And I will show you how I do some of my techniques moving on, but today was more or less to just sort of introduce you to my workstation, show you some things I've done, but we will get into doing some videos on, sort of my process. But I just swirled 2 different colors of mica powder, and I got to create this, which I love the tones on it. I like the tone on tone, and I like that it's sort of thicker in some spots and lighter in others, as far as the coloring goes. And again, flowers are very unique unto themselves, and I like when I can have it work out that it makes the flower look very, very pretty. This rose, again, using mica powders, a yellow and a pink, and again, I used this brush to swirl my mica powders within, and I'd put a little bit in, and then I'd move it around, and then I'd put another color in and then move it around. So you get the texture or the tone that you want. So it's subtle, but it catches your attention. And then this was one of the first ones. So there were 2 that I did straight out of the box, if you will. And then I actually took some markers and just went around the edges of these because I wanted to bring a little bit more life to this one. I liked it the way it was, but I felt like it needed more. And I'm not quite finished with it. I'd like to put a little bit more silver on it, or at least go over again with the same marker, or maybe one that's just slightly a bit different with the coloring, just to add some dimension, really, is what I'm going for. So that one turned out, I was really pretty with it, really pleased with it. Now this one, I haven't colored it yet, and you'll notice it's different than all the rest of them. This was made with J. Diction Resincrete, which I tell people is like a clay because that's how it comes out. And as you'll see, I was playing on the bottom and that didn't go all the way through. But again, I love to play, and it's the best way I have of coming up with new ideas. So I recommend that you play. Anyway, I love how this came out. I love the detail. I mean, this mold is just absolutely fantastic. As I say, these are Let's Resin molds. Like the detail, I'll just flip it out, like is quite substantial in looking at it. And if you were to flip it open like this and then work with different mica powders throughout it, and whether you used polyurethane or you used, you know, a regular resin, or a UV resin would probably work, but it would take a lot, and UV resin's quite expensive. Anyway, from this cool mold, I got this, and I'm sort of hesitant on how to color it because I don't want to mess it up. I mean, easily I could make another one, but the detail on this is absolutely fantastic. Now, you'll notice that I think this one I did fill all the way up, but this tulip mold, for example, I really just wanted to get the, you know, as much of it as I needed to get the flower detail in this, just to see how it was going to look. So I would know moving forward how these flowers were going to look. And again, if you're playing and a way to conserve some of your product, because resin is not inexpensive and the Resincrete's not bad, but again, if you want to save yourself some money but you do want to play, then you have a couple of options. You can get a less expensive resin, but be careful when you do that because not all resins are the same. I like the polyurethane because it's quick and I get my results immediately. The Resincrete, if you want to get a real different kind of feel, because when you compare, I mean, there's quite a difference in looking at those two flowers, both beautiful by their own rights, but very different because of the product used. So I like to play. And as I said, this one I'm not sure from a coloring perspective what I want to do with it. Now, with the Resincrete, you can paint it. Some people, and I haven't done this yet, there's a wax you can get to put on this to preserve it as such, but I haven't done that yet, and I haven't gotten anything to do that. You can paint it. Now, if you're a skilled painter, I'm not, you could probably do some really beautiful coloring on this. I'm wondering about potentially spray painting it. Again, I'd want to be really careful with that. If you were to get a sponge, you could sponge color onto this. And decoupage, that's the other thing I've done with pieces like this. And with a flower, this would be it'd be a challenge to get this covered properly. But you could do different, you know, pieces of a decoupage paper on this just to give it some, you know, a different feel. You can maybe even just do it in the center there. So that's an option for me as well if I want to see what I can do from a detail perspective. But I do love the Resincrete, and I have from J. Diction now got one of their kits that actually has some of their pigments in it. This is a challenge without their product to get it colored properly. I've been playing with, again, different products I can put into it, and some it's okay, but I think it's because of the density of the product that finding something that will color it really well has been a challenge for me. So I'm pleased to have their product now as far as that goes. But I continue to see what I can put into it to color it. But this is a piece that I'm looking forward to coloring. Now, I had mentioned in one of my previous videos about the bird molds that I had, and I'd gotten them because I wanted to find something specific to my mom. So I played with the Resincrete yesterday, I believe it was, and they came out. Now, one of the things with this mold, I mean, it's not a detailed mold. You can sort of, and just disregard my colors, I didn't know how much these were going to take, and these take between 10 and 15 grams of Resincrete to make. But you can see the wings, so I mean, I could color in those wings, and I could give it eyes, and I could make the beak a different color. They're cute, but I have to play with this mold a little bit more to come up with something that looks a bit better as far as I'm concerned. And then this was the other bird mold, and something about this just screams boat to me. I keep seeing a boat that's, skimming through the water. So again, I would want to define the wings on this bird, eyes and a nose. So you'll find with some of the molds you get, if the detail isn't really good, then you're going to have to perhaps find a way that you can decorate it so that it comes up looking the way you want it to. Anyway, I just wanted to do another video, show you some of the flower molds that I've got. They're fantastic molds. I mean, the detail in these things is amazing, and I look forward to making more of them. Will I make, for example, this tulip mold right up to the top? I think it would depend on what I was doing it for as to whether or not, because I don't mind. It's going to be flat in the top regardless of how high I go. So I'm okay with not taking these molds like right up to the top, because it would take quite a bit of resin. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's a rainy day here in Canada today, but I'm in my happy place being intentionally creative. Anyway, I hope you have a great day and take care, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now.